High fructose diets pose a unique and insidious challenge to cellular health, particularly within the liver, where the vast majority of fructose metabolism takes place. Unlike glucose, which is metabolized throughout the body, fructose is almost entirely processed in the liver, making this organ disproportionately vulnerable to the consequences of chronic overconsumption, especially in the form of high fructose corn syrup and sweetened beverages. As the liver struggles to process large amounts of fructose, it not only accumulates fat and oxidative stress, but also experiences a profound disruption in its ability to initiate autophagy. This loss of self-cleaning capacity marks a critical shift from metabolic adaptation to dysfunction, paving the way for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NEFLD, insulin resistance, and a host of downstream inflammatory conditions. At the biochemical level, the metabolism of fructose generates an immediate surge of ADP consumption and uric acid production. This initial energy drain leads to mitochondrial stress, which, paradoxically, would ordinarily serve as a signal for the activation of autophagy, a kind of intracellular alarm prompting cleanup and repair. But in the case of chronic fructose intake, this signal becomes scrambled. The liver becomes flooded with intermediates of fructose metabolism that stimulate de novo lipogenesis, the creation of new fat molecules. These fats are stored within liver cells or exported as triglycerides, contributing not only to fatty liver, but to elevated blood lipids and cardiovascular risk. As lipogenesis increases and oxidative stress mounts, one might expect autophagy to engage as a protective response. Yet studies show that high fructose feeding impairs this pathway through multiple mechanisms. First, the accumulation of intracellular fat activates the mTOR pathway, a known inhibitor of autophagy. This creates a metabolic environment that favors continued storage and growth over repair and recycling. Second, fructose appears to interfere with key regulators of hepatic autophagy, such as AMPK. When AMPK activity is suppressed, as it is in high fructose states, cells are less able to sense energetic stress, further reducing the initiation of autophagy. The result is a liver stuck in metabolic overload with no way to clear out damaged mitochondria or lipid byproducts. Over time, this impaired autophagy leads to a vicious cycle. Mitochondrial dysfunction worsens, making energy production less efficient and more toxic. Inflammation rises as damaged organelles and misfolded proteins accumulate. Cellular senescence increases, and the liver's ability to detoxify harmful substances declines. These are the very hallmarks of chronic metabolic diseases, conditions that often emerge slowly, masked by years of subclinical damage that began with something as culturally normalized as a daily soda or sweetened coffee. And yet, this damage is not inevitable. The suppression of autophagy in the liver by high fructose diets offers a clear point of intervention. Reducing or eliminating sources of excess fructose, particularly from processed foods and beverages, can begin to reverse this metabolic suppression. Research suggests that reactivating hepatic autophagy, whether through dietary change, intermittent fasting, or pharmacological AMPK activation, may help the liver mobilize fat stores, restore insulin sensitivity, and reduce inflammatory signaling. The liver, while vulnerable, is also remarkably resilient. When autophagy is restored, it can reestablish its role as a metabolic gatekeeper rather than a storage depot. More intriguingly, some whole foods that contain fructose, like apples, berries, and carrots, do not appear to have the same detrimental impact on hepatic autophagy. This is likely because these foods come packaged with fiber, antioxidants, and polyphenol that buffer the metabolic hit of fructose, slow its absorption, and mitigate oxidative damage. In this context, fructose behaves more like a nutrient and less like a toxin. Thus, the story of fructose is not inherently one of danger, but of dose, source, and synergy. Ultimately, the disruption of hepatic autophagy by high fructose diets reveals a deeper truth. When we feed the body in ways that outpace its ability to adapt and clean up, we invite chaos at the cellular level. The liver, caught in the crossfire, becomes a reflection of our dietary environment, overfed, overwhelmed, and underrepaired. But with knowledge and intention, we can shift that trajectory. By restoring balance through thoughtful nutrition and metabolic support, we reopen the door to autophagy and give the liver the chance to regenerate, not just functionally, but fundamentally.